Chris, how are you? And you know
Doing
what?
great.
We're into Q1. It's going to be a big year. I don't care what anyone says. But right now, we're still dealing with the economy where it was for businesses, where they couldn't get a certain amount of loans and different things. But it's not the time to panic as an entrepreneur if certain things have happened. So you're going to provide some resources for entrepreneurs that really don't have the budget to hire an agency, either my
Right.
agency or your agency, depending on what specifics, but yet can keep rolling. One of the topics I'm going to do with my other client on another podcast is discuss that people are using AI entirely wrong and they don't understand what power they have with the growth of AI, Web 3.0, things like that, where you can solve a UX, where you can have a company with one employee and make millions. This is where everyone has to shift, but you have some things that are going to help people that might had to lay off, might have lost some funding, what they can do.
Yeah. It's been a very sort of interesting period within the last just a few weeks, right? With sort of the new sort of changes of power that kind of at the top of things. But one of the things like you mentioned, right, is not to panic, right? And I think us as business owners, we have to remain steadfast in terms of how we manage cash for the future. And like we sort of realize, right? For some of us, this is our retirement plan, right? I think it's important to kind of speak on how do we build what are some resources for economic security, right, for entrepreneurs? Because this was something that I faced even building my first business, and um, you go from not paying yourself to trying to pay yourself a little bit to pay yourself a lot, and scaling back and adding more, and
It's the same thing. And then we had this
it's back and
conversation on
forth. Yeah,
another,
right.
I had another conversation on this, another podcast about this, about that. And then basically, I think the mistake we make is we look at and listen to these experts say, you got to scale now. Then what are you
Right.
doing? You're wasting your value just so they could be a coach to teach people to scale. When ultimately it's not time to scale. And that I was talking to somebody that was talking about this on the podcast, and he was more on operations side, but he talked about all the business side, and it's a really good program. But the missing component is, where is there a checklist to tell people, you know what, maybe I got to make this change. So let's go into
Right.
that.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about one of the biggest things around economic security, which is really cash management in our behaviors, right? So if you understand yourself as an entrepreneur, you understand that you take risk, right? You're going to put money into things, and certain things are going to work out and they're not going to work out. So you have a different mindset than other people who are employees, right? That's what makes you different from everyone else. So we have to think about our cash or how we're investing what we're doing in our business, the activities and projects we want to bring on, and everything included. So one of the things that I've started to see in my startup advisory that people have sort of come to me about is, how do I where's is there some type of framework for cash management? Like, I grew up in a household, no one really taught me finances, really, have a 401k, right? But like extended past that, right? Like, how do I navigate getting large amounts of money and then making sure I don't blow through all the investment funds I just got, right? So one thing I want to obviously is one of the biggest things, if you haven't already, is find a financial professional or CPA that you could work with, right? It's incredibly important to understand that if finances are your strength, then rely on others for that work. If you already do this for your tech, if you already do this for any of the other aspects of your business, it's no different from the cash. I think the biggest thing with that is finding someone you trust, right? As a financial professional. So that's the biggest thing. Find that financial professional you can trust. But as in terms of how you as a founder can establish some wisdom, there was a book that I wanted to showcase. It's called Profit First. Transform your business from regular operating to cash eating businesses into money making businesses, right? And this is a new paradigm that I didn't even realize that helped me. Like, I took accounting even in college, but This is a way to help you keep cash in the bank. So how many times as an entrepreneur, Neil, you have all your money coming in, invoices coming into one account, and then you've got all your expenses, contracting and all that eaten out of that same account too. So a couple days go by, we're doing a bunch of work, we're just slammed through our schedules, and then we just go and check in our business bank account. And guess what we see?
Zero.
Uh-oh. Just
And
low
that's
balance.
and then that the reason that is you're right, profit first, but we have these other experts saying something different. My gosh, you shouldn't be wear every hat. No, you should profit for God's sakes and pay yourself a salary or pay you so that you can live on. Then you go to the next resources. This is
Right.
the whole truth. Look at Elon Musk. He lives in a $50,000 house, right?
Yeah.
It's SpaceX and he's a billionaire. We don't really look at how we spend our money.
Right. So that's what I had to look at it. So I'm like, okay, I got this one account. Everything's going in and out. And every time I look at an account, I have less than I anticipated or I projected, right? And so this profit first sets up a framework for you. So essentially what you do is you create two checkings and two savings. One is your operational expenses, and the other one, call it payroll, right? And then the other two is your tax and then your profit counts, right? Now the key thing about those other savings accounts, put it in a different bank where you can't touch it. You set it and forget it, right? Because for me, it was always visceral to see the cash and be like, well, that's what I have available, right? But really, if I'm saving, I really don't want to touch that. So, if I had to look at my own savings habits and recognize that, if I can see the money directly in front of me and when I open up the app, it's probably not a good sign, because I'll try to use it if I, cover whatever, deficit that I might have in my cash flow that day. So it sets you up with those different accounts. You set it and forget it. And then the great thing about that book is it sets up the discipline. So how do you actually pay yourself, right? Start a reasonable salary and pay yourself 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, like a normal W-2, and then also report that to the government so you have things on your taxes. So you can, buy a house or do all the important things that we don't think about as entrepreneurs when we make this journey, right? I think that's so incredibly important. So that's what I started doing, right? Is instead of taking an owner's distribution, uh, I do what's called an S corp election. If you have a regular LLC, you can do what's called an S corp election on your taxes, and essentially you just pay yourself a reasonable salary, at whatever that is. Could be $1,500 a month, whatever that is for you, right? That you pay yourself. It is tax, but at the end of the year, you're getting a tax refund. And then get the kicker on this, right? Uh, you save tax savings on the individual side, and then you as the employer, you don't have to pay the self-employment tax. So there's a 15% self-employment tax that usually gets everybody at the end of the year. And if you were like what I was doing, I was end of the year comes, I owe 10 grand in taxes. Okay, great. What do we got in the profit savings? Oh, we spent it all on operational expenses. What happened? Right. And
You get in the
so,
payment of the R, you get to the payment of the RS. So it's
right.
really a discipline thing and
Yes.
profit first. And this is where they say, oh, hire people. No, then you don't have any profit. So that's the challenge. What would you say to people? Profit first. So definitely it's a book that people all should look out
Yeah.
for.
Profit
And
First by Mike Michalowicz. Okay. This was on Amazon, almost 5 stars. Is one of the best business books. And it's not one of these entrepreneur books. Like, this is actionable stuff you could use today in your business. Read the audiobook. I guarantee it'll change your perspective big time.
All right. So that's great. Any other resources you talk about? First of all, profit yourself first. What about saving, especially when you're seeing all these cutbacks that are happening and stuff?
Yeah, so savings, I think it's important, right? If you don't already have some type of forecast model kind of spreadsheet within your business, I highly suggest you sit down with a financial professional or work with your team to help create one, right? Because I think the economy will continue to trend in the right direction. I think certain industries though may see, may claw back from certain political or foreign implications, right? We just saw Nvidia stock just get hit big time just because of a new AI coming out, right? So like things that you probably want to also look at too from the financial side is also reevaluate your portfolio, right? If you were part of the AI trend and you're hopping on that trend, understand right now that I think a lot of this is just a correction, right, of the overvaluation of Nvidia, right? Now that we see that we can do it cheaper, there's no reason to spend all that money on hardware, right? So it makes sense from a logistics and marketing perspective. The other thing that I want to also consider too is sit down with that CPA financial perspective and let's talk about retirement planning, right? For entrepreneurs, something we don't think about. Well, so, and as a former financial advisor, I'm going to talk about this today, but you can start, this helps you on the tax saving too. If you start you can do a small business IRA or a simple IRA, something like that, that you can do internally for your business. And from the money that you put in each year for that, you get some tax savings on that on your return too. So again, both sides, both on the employee side and the and the employer, right? So that's where you can see those savings. And that's the thing with talent acquisition too, right? If you can start providing those types of benefits, even if you're a startup, or at least have some type of access or door to it, people will be much more inclined to join your venture, knowing, okay, we're gonna have access to some point health insurance and then retirement planning. Because I've watched my father, who's a 25-year plus entrepreneur, born and raised here in Chicago, and heating and air conditioning, man, but his retirement fund was pretty lacking. I'd
No,
say.
that and it's trying to sell that business at the end of the day. I'm never
Right.
retiring, so I'm dying working. So that's me.
and that's
So
and that's
so
how
so,
we all think.
so
We're all think we're
no, no,
gonna
I won't
die.
retire. I'm not going to. And
Yeah,
I
you're
want to
not
I want to
going
go
to.
to Mars someday. So that's all about looking at your specific health. You looking at your specific. Go ahead.
But here's the one thing I say that because we all have this too, and I said this too, because we're not gonna retire, right? What if life gives you the choice where you must retire?
That's a great point. That's where you get the cash value life insurance. I'm looking to a guy named Alan
That
Porter,
too.
my clients with Strategic Wealth Strategies, and he literally will, because if you get a bunch of cash value and annuities, then you basically pay yourself for life. And then also you have the ability to still work and you're not going to get hit by all the different
Right.
things. So that's where the certain strategic plans based on what you're looking to do. Then you'll have so whatever care. So if you've created a business that you could sit in your bed and work in, you're good shape. Because there you go. There's a business in your bed. So
Yeah.
an automation and business in your bed versus something where you have to do the blood, sweat, and tears of heavy lifting. You're right. You're going to have to retire at some point in time. So what does that business look like? How can you create that business to work till you're 80, 90 years old? And what business will you go to if you don't, if you never want to retire or you want to retire on a beach earning 20%?
Yeah.
This is the types of things that you have to look at. So
Well, it
that
all goes back to what we talk about all the time is how working in the business versus working on it. If you need to replicate yourself, right? And that's what you would use any AI agents or any employees that you decide to bring on. That's how true freedom with entrepreneurs happens, right? Is if you have a team that can handle the load while you're away, or AI
But when
bots,
you're
whatever
talking about air
infrastructure.
conditioning companies and
Yeah,
things like that,
yeah, those aren't
that's
not as
insane.
scalable. No,
No,
not
it's
as
not
scalable.
scalable at all. And it's your once you're done, did you sell it and be able to
Well,
keep your book
and
of business
well,
in the right spot?
and here's the thing, especially for you if you're an entrepreneur and you're thinking about retiring maybe within the next 20 years or so. Understand this is like even you may be a special like my father, he was a subject matter expert, super specialized in his field. Everyone called him for expert. He made good money while he did it. But here's the thing: he never replicated himself truly. He never created a learning system to have new apprentices really to truly come on and have a system for it. So the one thing I would say for you guys and most business owners is focus on creating systems and processes for your business that enable that growth and automation, right? Because you're going to be stuck working in the business day to day as a specialized person, whoever you are. If you're a consultant, if you never, create some one way to replicate yourself. So that's the way to retirement. And then, make sure you save, right? Entrepreneurs as savers, we, you know, put that money away and don't touch it and forget about it. That's actually one of the, I think the best thing to trick myself, right? If I said it, forget it, and I'll be
All
like,
right.
wait a minute, I have some money over here. Where did this come from? Oh, a pleasant surprise. And they always tell you, best tree to plant it was 20 years ago. That next best
It's
time to
a,
now, right?
it's a great topic. We're going to continue to talk technology with some great apps and things to look at specifically. Hopefully, people are trying to use DeepSeek. What I'm going to tell you, the survival rate for every entrepreneur now is
Mm-hmm.
everything's going to be duplicatable. It's going to be robots running businesses, 5 robots to every human coming in 10
Yeah,
years.
we might have
So the
family
basic
agents. Yeah.
situation we need to do is we need to become better than AI. How is that learning curve? Seeing what that knowledge base is. It's interesting. I was watching this one show, Night Agent, and I said, okay, this
Mm.
guy who is a chemical guy, can he be replaced? That professor that can go and do all those chemicals, will he be replaced? That's what everyone has this expertise and knowledge. They have to look at it. Do I really have the expertise and knowledge that AI can't duplicate? That's the honest truth. And look at, am I going to be able to run 100 programs of different people that might not be humans? So the people that have something that everybody else can do, you're not going to be replaced. You're going to be replaced
That
in seconds.
okay, and that's actually a really important topic you just hit on. The other thing that I will look at in terms of economic security is retrofitting your skill sets, right? I had a great friend that I did some great work with. He's a 20-year security expert. He works at Cisco. He came up, he put this post up on LinkedIn. He was like, am I going to be out of a job soon? And he went into this kind of long kind of explanation of, well, now in the security aspect world, you don't really need the guy with all the certifications and all those every
No.
big things now. So, but the big thing was he was optimistic about the future, and his biggest plea was retool your skill set so that with this new AI future that is coming,
Yeah.
you can be a controller of AI in those ecosystems instead of just a user.
You
And
can ask AI honestly. You can ask AI, how do I not get replaced? This is the
right,
thing. Use the AI in this way,
that's
and
absolutely
they'll create it and say, what is your skill set? And they'll tell you what your skill set is. And it's all about brand at the end of the day. All
yeah.
right. Best place, uxbright.com.
You
Check
can
out
find
Chris Richards everywhere. Go to LinkedIn and appreciate it, sir.
okay, yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Neil.
All right. Is that right? And LinkedIn's Christopher Richards or Chris
Yeah,
Richards?
Christopher Richards. Yeah.
Then check it out.